Good morning.
Good morning.
I just saw an interesting website. It is a website for the Strategic Social Architecture Foundation. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't. What is it?
The Strategic Social Architecture Foundation is an organization that provides a mechanism for people to realize the vision of an intentional egalitarian society. The development and support of citizens with high moral, ethical, and social standards is the sole mission of the social order.
Sounds like a good idea, but what are they about?
Strategic social architecture is an approach for creating a social order based on the development and support of people with specific characteristics defined by the participants, not pre-programmed characteristics installed by pre-existing social programming systems.
I believe you were talking about independent thinkers. People who are not under the control of cultural programming.
Yes. You are right on the money.
Independent thinkers are outside the mainstream cognitive scope. They don't have a way to work together.
You are right. The mission of the Strategic Social Architecture Foundation is to provide a mechanism and methodology for individuals who share a similar worldview to do several things. First, to collaborate on the SSF principles. Second, to organize themselves into active, effective work groups. Third, to implement real-world solutions that address both the short-term considerations from a personal perspective as well as the medium and long-term considerations from a social perspective.
Isn't that socialism or some kind of communism? Those systems don't work.
Strategic social architecture is a social approach, not a social system. The fundamental characteristics of the citizens of a strategic social architecture-based society are effective self-awareness, social responsibility, and resistance to psychological manipulation. This conceptual solution is not drawn from, nor does it correlate with, any previous social architecture due to its focus on the characteristics of the individual as the essential component and driver for creation and maintenance of the social order.
I don't understand. What is the difference between a social system and a social approach?
Social systems are prescriptive. In other words, social systems define upfront the thought patterns and behavior patterns of the people in those systems.
Like religion or political ideology? They tell you what to do and what to think, and they even tell you how to think. If you don't act and think the way you are told to, they punish you with social shunning, disapproval, or physical violence. I don't like being forced to act and think like everyone else. And I sure don't like being punished just for being different.
Yes, those are good examples. In mainstream social systems, people are taught to expect the system to produce results rather than the people themselves producing results. For example, people say socialism doesn't work or capitalism is bad. It is not about the social system. It is about the qualities of the people who implement and administer the social system. Criminal and psychopathic people will compromise any social order.
You are saying that it doesn't matter what social system is implemented if criminal and psychopathic people are allowed to take over and use the system for their own ends.
Correct. For independent thinkers, the goal of a society should be the benefit of the people in that society, not the benefit of criminal and psychopathic oligarchs. However, the achievement of social goals is the responsibility of the people in the social order.
What social goals? I thought societies just kind of organically came into existence.
Human society is not random. People get together to form social orders like clans, tribes, communities, etc. in order to achieve goals like food production, protection, irrigation, building transportation systems. These are things that individuals cannot achieve by themselves. So people work together using specific methods in some systematic way. The sum of all the methods used in a particular system become a social system.
I see. A particular set of methods codified into a comprehensive system describing how people act and behave is a social system. The hierarchy of authority in such a social system is the social order. Is that right?
Exactly. The problem throughout human history is that criminal and psychopathic people infiltrate and take over the positions of power and then use the social system for their own ends.
But there are only a few. Why does the general population allow a few people to enslave them?
The psychopathic oligarchs use physical violence and threats of physical violence. Consider that Henry Kissinger said, Control the food supply and you control a population. Control the energy supply and you can control a continent. Control the money supply and you control the world.
How is control of the food supply violence?
If a man shoots you with a gun, is that violence?
Yes, of course.
Because if he shoots you, then you will suffer and probably die, yes?
Yes, that is right.
What if the same man cut off all your food? What then?
I guess with no food then I would suffer and die.
How is it that using a gun to make you suffer and die is violence, but starving you to death is not violence?
I never thought about it that way. I guess using control of food to kill people or threaten to kill them is in fact violence.
Now what about energy? In the winter it gets very cold in the northern hemisphere. Without fuel to heat your home, what would happen?
It gets really cold around here.
So if a man cut off all your heating oil, what would happen this winter?
With no heat I would suffer and die from the cold.
How is it that using a gun to make you suffer and die is violence, but making you freeze to death is not violence?
I never thought about it that way. I guess using control of energy supplies to kill people or threaten to kill people is in fact violence.
What do you use to buy food and heating oil and in fact all of the things you need to live?
I use money, of course.
So if a man took all your money so that you could not buy the things you need to live, what would happen?
With no money I couldn't buy food or a place to live or a car or heating oil. With no money I would suffer and die in poverty.
How is it that using a gun to make you suffer and die is violence, but stealing all your money is not violence?
I never thought about it that way. I guess using control of money to kill people or threaten to kill people but cutting off their ability to get the things they need to live is violence.
So if a psychopathic person gains control of the money supply, then they can do violence against entire populations. The psychopathic person can threaten violence against entire populations in order to make those populations do what the psychopathic person wants them to do. What is a word to describe then one person has such total control over other people?
It is a form of slavery. I am defining slavery here as a person or persons using physical violence or threats of physical violence to control other people.
I agree. But that puts us in a bad position today because psychopathic people now control the money supply of the entire world.
Now you are scaring me.
It is worse than that. Physical violence and the threat of physical violence is not enough for the psychopathic oligarchs to control the population.
Good God, what else do they need? They have control of everything.
For full control they need to control people's minds. Consider what Carter G. Woodson said. If you can control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. If you can determine what a man thinks, you do not have worry about what he will do. If you can make a man believe that he is inferior, you don't have to compel him to seek an inferior status, he will do so without being told. And if you can make a man believe that he is justly an outcast, you don't have to order him to the back door, he will go to the back door on his own. And if there is no back door, the very nature of the man will demand that you build one.
How can they control people's thinking? Wait a minute. We were just talking about how social systems like religion and political ideology tells people how to act and what to think.
Now you are catching on.
So to have full control of the people, psychopathic oligarchs just need to control how people's minds get formed through these type of institutions.
Bingo. You hit the nail on the head.
And if the psychopathic oligarchs have control of the money supply, they can bribe or coerce or compromise or even assassinate people who are in positions of power in these institutions. The psychopathic oligarchs don't even have to be in the positions of power themselves. They rule from behind the scenes.
You are on a roll, dude. Keep on going.
That means that through control of the cultural programming institutions such as religion, media, political parties, educational institutions, the psychopathic oligarchs can control how the people think and what the people do. And if the people don't act the way the psychopathic oligarchs want them to, then those people are punished with social shunning, disapproval, or physical violence. And no one can even see the invisible hand of the psychopathic oligarchs making this happen.
Yes. That is why the general population is enslaved. They cannot see what is happening to them and how they are being manipulated and controlled.
This is horrible. I'm scared and I don't know what to do.
Other people are working together to support one another. That is the point of SAF. Go to www.ssf.org and find out more.
I will check it out. Thank you, and let's talk some more.
You're welcome. I look forward to talking again soon.